Hello, everyone. It's Phil Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is Friday, the 10th of June, 2022. Click on the subscribe button here below to subscribe to this podcast. And also you click on the notification bell in the far upper right to be notified when the future episodes are released. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with today's show, and the topic is the successor to the Bible Thumpers. Like teenagers of all eras, those of us who came of age during the 1960s rebelled against the past. Unless we were enrolled in one of the STEM disciplines, our college professors taught us to disdain Bible thumpers who had shaped the moral standards of the 1950s. They had, after all, read only a single book, where they were forever hunting down verses to justify censoring other books that our professors liked. Communism was bad only partly because it redistributed the rewards of the industrious to the less productive. No, its greatest sin was in the endorsing atheism. Now, most revolutions fail because the powers that be snuff them out before they have become anything more than vague movements. Our movement was different, partly because it was difficult even for Bible thumpers to continue justifying racial apartheid in the United States, but also because our numbers were so large. We were the children born of the post-World War II baby boom. We put an 18-year bulge in that passed through America's demographics, like a python's captured prey proceeds through the snake's digestive tract. Much like all bullies, we imposed our will because we could. It had nothing to do with right or wrong because we were too inexperienced to consistently know the difference. We judged the political left to be correct merely because we wanted to reject the established standards that happened to be conservative. We put our faith in government to correct social injustices and ridiculed religion for having failed to have previously corrected them. Thus began the victimhood Olympics. As Blacks were compensated with affirmative action, which has not yet ended after 60 years, other demographics aspired to victim status. Therefore, young unmarried mothers were motivated to marry the government, which would provide them with more money than many true fathers could. Moreover, the mothers would be paid more for each additional child by the government, whereas no dad in the family, if you had a dad in the family, he would not be given a pay raise merely because his wife gave birth to yet another child. As a result, single parenthood, or being the mother, became the standard among many Americans, but unfortunately, especially among Blacks. When such mothers got bored of staying at home, the government provided child care assistance for preschoolers and the public schools for the older ones. Consequently, many public schools devolved into essentially daycare facilities that utterly failed at education. According to the 2021 National Assessment of Educational Progress exams, for example, about 85% of high school Blacks lack proficiency in both mathematics and reading skills. And that's one reason why the left-leaning politicians want to abolish standardized testing. They just don't like the result in terms of the performance on the exam. Now, 85% lacking proficiency is remarkable considering that that's almost 60 years after President Lyndon Johnson inaugurated his so-called war on poverty in 1964, which quote, invested, close quote, over $11 trillion in various means-tested economic aid programs. As the drift toward increasing government dependency continued, a new form of narrow-minded Bible thumper emerged. Today's thumper has adopted political leftism as her religion, not Christianity or Judaism or even Islam. But if you disagree with this secular religion that has taken over America, then you're going to be censored. Its proponents destroy Confederate monuments because they want to hide from any history that does not conform to their interpretation. But they should not, that should not give them the right to hide history from the rest of us. Nonetheless, they have destroyed our statues for the same reason bullies impose their will. The same reason bullies always impose their will, because they can, because they have the power. The validity or invalidity of their reasons are immaterial. It was all about the exercise of power to increase the concentration of it in their hands, and it remains that. Exercise the power, increasingly concentrated in their hands. The leftist politicians want more power, and they want to reduce your freedoms. They get more power, for example, by imposing more gun ownership restrictions. That gives them more power. Simultaneously, it reduces your freedom. Everything they gain in power, everything the central government gains in power, or any government gains in power, has a consequent loss of freedom to the individual citizen. It's like a scale. You take something over here and you put it over here. The most recent encroachment of leftist ideology involves so-called transgenderism. After countless ages of agreement about there being only two genders, leftists have concluded that there are truly multiple genders. Moreover, their secular religion demands that gender affirmation surgery be made available to children, even those who are too young to understand the consequences. Deluded parents take their children to drag festivals to learn about gender fluidity. Such festivals are not educational. They instead push sexualization on children, often children too young to truly understand what is being pushed on. Today's narrow-minded moralizers, therefore, are not those in the first pew at the church. They are those monitoring everyone else's social media accounts. This is taking yourself too seriously. Let me speak to those of you that do this. You are taking yourself too seriously. This is unearned virtue. It is not true virtue. It is unearned virtue. In reality, it is child abuse. It is not truly about raising kids to be better persons. It is exploiting your child as a kind of Twitter avatar. It is like transforming them into a human version of a rainbow flag. You are exploiting your children for your own cheap, unearned virtue. What's next? What else will you sell out for your cheap path to unearned virtue? What follows this Twilight Zone version of Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, we're just going to have to wait to find out. But of course, what I'm hoping is that you will join me and many others like us to vote these devils out. In order to protect Confederate monuments, it's going to be increasingly important to show and explain what the Reconstruction process was really like, not just for Blacks, but for Blacks and whites. My book, Southern Reconstruction by Philip Lee, is going to tell you that story. It's going to be important for you to have those facts. This book is $26 at Amazon, $30 from me if you'd like an autographed copy. Just email me, Phil, Phil _Lee, LEIGH, at me.com. Okay, that's our show for today, and I thank you.